What's up, guys? Welcome back. I gotta be quiet again, or relatively quiet. My son's asleep in the other room. But that's a perfect segue into today's book. He is dreaming right now. We are here to talk about The Dream Master by Roger Zelazny. This is the second Zelazny that I read. Uh, the first being Lord of Light. I think these are hopefully in focus and you can see them all. Yeah, I have 3 copies of this. I didn't really mean to get all 3 copies, but um, I know one of these was I found at a library sale. Another one of these was way underpriced, and then one of these I was in, I think, an auction from either Zig or Book Report. Can't remember who I was buying from, but gave me a good deal. And I love the covers on these. Speaking of that, before we get into the video, which of these Ace Dream Masters, sorry if I'm blocking, is your favorite? 1, 2, or 3? Put it down in the comments. I'm curious because I can't really decide. I think I'm gonna pick one to hold up during this. This one's pretty cool. I love the text in this, like the text treatment in the front. And I do think that one's a pretty cool cover. Although it's interesting how they position the dog. For those of you that have read this book, he's like the main character's best friend in this cover. I read the Ace because it was in the worst shape, and these two are actually. This is really clean, never been read. So I'm gonna use this one. I think. Anyway, I've read Lord of Light by Zelazny, and it was a puzzler in a good way. But the reading experience was really challenging because I was not aware of contextual things that would have helped me, um, would have helped immerse me in the story more. With this was a little bit easier to follow. But be warned, Zelazny is an acquired taste. He's a fine wine that not everybody's going to like. There were moments, threads in this book that kind of they didn't lose me, but I really had no idea what was going on. But I'm glad this is the second Zelazny that I've read because I knew that there would be almost always some kind of thread that he was either just dangling or that he would pick back up later. So I trusted that he was doing whatever he was doing for a reason, even if I didn't get it in the moment. And so, yeah, uh, let's see. This book was a winner of the Nebula Award, I think. Yeah, just Nebula. Um, but it's about 150 pages. It's a relatively short book. Um, it's about a man named Charles Render, who is what they call a shaper, and that is essentially someone who creates a dream landscape, a dreamscape for someone to populate their emotions into, and then he acts as a psychiatrist, um, working with them on their emotions and their psychology and the reason that they feel certain ways about things. It's essentially um, dream therapy. Think of it that way. Render, he um, he we find that he has reasons for grieving, and it's the reason why he can sort of remove his emotions from the dreams, and give sort of a blank landscape for then the other person dreaming with him, his patient, to then like almost splatter their emotions and psyche onto the dreamscape, and then he like relays back what that means. He's reading dreams. I'm gonna try not to spoil a bunch in the beginning, I guess, but be warned, there will be spoilers in this video. I'm gonna try to like ease into those. So if you want to get out now and go read this, be warned, spoilers ahead. Um, yeah, I'm gonna go back to Lord of Light for a second because this book's prose, I didn't really appreciate it in Lord of Light because I think I was just too confused by the plot. and didn't really understand like the dynamics of the characters in that book. But because this is a little bit easier point of entry, I've seen Inception. A great reference point for this book is Inception. Um, a lot of things I think were probably drawn from this book, or if they weren't, like very happy accidents that they were uh, very closely related. I feel like, um, but I was able to appreciate his prose throughout this because I had read one. So if you start with this one and you're not super familiar with science fiction and vintage science fiction, especially, it's going to be a tough one because there are passages that are just beautiful, but you don't really understand the significance. So you're reading like poetry, but um, but there's no like payoff if you don't quite know what he's trying to do. And I didn't at some points, but I think it helped. I was sort of in the dark for some of it, and that brings me to the other sort of main character because we follow Charles Render, but he meets this woman named Eileen Shallot, who is basically someone who she wants to become a shaper, but her main obstacle is that she's blind. And the reason that that's kind of important, I guess, is we visually see our dreams. I think that's like a main element that you never really experience a dream without visual components. Sometimes there's no audio, sometimes there's no taste or smell, or some of your senses are removed from a dream. You don't always remember the other senses, you always remember sight. And so Zelazny really does something unique here in positioning a character who learns to see through dreams. And because his prose is so floral and poetic and dreamlike, just he's entrancing. Um, he almost puts us in the shoes of Eileen as Render takes her through these dreamscapes and teaches her how to see. Um, the main sort of plot, I guess, centers around the fact that Render, spoilers ahead, I'll give you a second if you need to pause. Render has lost his, I believe, wife and child in a car accident. We find that out, and it's very quick. It doesn't really talk about it specifically, which I thought was kind of interesting. It's not very clear on where his grief is coming from, but we get one kind of mention of that, and then a couple little sprinkles throughout about car wrecks and things of that nature. We get a lot of scenes with cars actually, and like automatic driving. And so there's these kind of like callbacks to this one moment that causes Render so much grief. I think the mental health implications that Zelazny put into this novel, how many years ago am I now? I mean, we're talking 60 years. This book was published in 64. So, yeah, 60 years ago. Um, the, the real like focus on like trying to unpack grief in healthy and unhealthy ways, dealing with the five senses. I mean, he really hits home with some of it. And I mean, I think everybody has experienced grief to some degree. Um, and I think that it really hit home for me because of some personal stuff that's happened in the last few years. And I think anybody can really identify with that part of the book, whether you've lost somebody close to you, or you've had a horrific event or whatever. Like there's grief in those moments, and I think that processing it is really difficult and challenging. And the way that we watch Render try to do it, the way that Eileen sort of processes things, like it's fascinating, and they do it through a beautiful dreamscape that I think is Zelazny is he is up there in terms of prose stylings. I just did a video on Clark Ashton Smith. I hope if you haven't seen that, um, I would recommend, if you're interested in this, to maybe go check that out. Totally different kind of subject matter, but the writing, the level that these guys were writing on. I mean, I want to write someday like fiction and stuff. Like I say that, and I don't really put pen to paper, so I should do that more. But studying these kinds of guys is and men and women who have the prose stylings at this level is just awesome. Because yes, there are moments that I think leave you wanting more as far as character development, but it's a short novel. Um, there are things that I think certain readers might just get frustrated with because it's not a tactile book. It's a very imaginative and soft dreamscape that you're walking through with Render. It really does read like a dream. And I think for those of you that have read this and have made it to the end, I didn't quite understand exactly what happened at the end, but I think I know. Again, spoilers if you really don't want to know the very ending. Render sort of like implodes on himself, like is sort of being alluded to throughout the novel. And then Eileen's sort of strength in taking over the dream sort of like just swallows him whole, and he sort of loses his mind a little bit. And there's these nods to this Black Knight, this suit of armor um, throughout the book. I think it's in the restaurant that they first meet at, and there's callbacks to that. She imagines him as the knight once in a dream, and he's like, at the end we get this just 1 or 2 page, you know, section that ends the book that is, I believe it's a knight who's being told like there's somebody, you know, here for you in this kind of fictional world. And I think he's in a dreamscape that someone else is dreaming up for him. So he has essentially switched places with Eileen and sort of lost his mind. And I think that's one element of it that is kind of heartbreaking at the end. If I truly processed what happened at the end and I didn't misunderstand, it's kind of ends on a really sad way where Render sort of allows grief to destroy him in a way, um, by not processing it. And so he's a dream master, but he ultimately can't master his own grief. And um, I don't know. I was fascinated by this book, and I'm very thankful I picked it up. Um, I Yeah, I'm really looking forward to reading more Zelazny. So if you have recommendations, please let me know. I have Trumps of Doom. I have Nine Princes in Amber. I have This Immortal. I have a short story collection. I have some stuff I could read from him, and he's peppered throughout lots of anthologies, so I'm sure I could find more from him. But if you have specific recommendations, I've read Lord of Light. I've read um, Dream Master now. Is there a third that I should definitely, read for sure? So anyway, that's been uh, that's been kind of my thoughts on this one. I just finished it last night, so I'm really doing my best to, like, while it's top of mind and while it's fresh, I want to make sure I get my thoughts out to you guys. And I've been taking lots more notes. I think last year, as I published some videos, I sort of got away from the specifics of the books, and I sort of just talked about them from a really 10,000 foot view. And I'm trying to do a little bit better at, like, zooming in on certain elements, so that whether you've read it or not, there are certain things in the video, my review, whatever you want to call it, that you can glean, um, and take away from it. It's not just like a, hey, here's my opinion, and I gave it 3 stars. Like, that seems kind of repetitive and boring. So I'm trying to do a little bit better at, like, yeah, just giving you some more specific thoughts and mentions. So with that, I'll let you guys go. Appreciate you watching as always. I hope you're staying warm. I'm shooting this. Hopefully the light's good because there's snow outside and a lot of it, and it's making it really easy to get some natural light in here. So stay warm, stay safe. Uh, if you don't have other things to do, it's a great time to read too. So anyway, with that, I'll see you guys in the next video. Thank you.